The movie shows Marshal Jim Dillon, the chief of police who has sworn to keep the peace in Horse Cave, a small, peaceful town with fewer than 1,000 people. In carrying out his duties, Marshal Jim is assisted by a reliable deputy, Matt Reynolds. One day, 2 biker gang members came to town. Deputy Matt saw them when they passed by the police station. Out of curiosity, Matt asked Jim why the biker gang entered the town, considering it's rare for them to see a motorcycle gang there, especially when it's early in the morning. But Jim asked him not to worry because maybe the biker gang got lost and accidentally ended up in their town. Apparently, it wasn't just Matt who was surprised to see the gang appear. When they entered a cafe, everyone looked at them suspiciously, wondering what they were up to. One of the gang members, Shovelhead, made a commotion shortly after he and his friends entered the cafe. He asked the owner of the cafe, Kathy, to serve him liquor. And when Kathy refused because her restaurant didn't serve alcohol in the morning, he kept forcing her to give her a beer. She ended up hitting the man with a bottle. Her reaction angered Shovelhead, who then challenged Kathy to a fight. Meanwhile, his friend, Jarhead, just stood watching them duel. Luckily soon, Marshal Jim came to the cafe, and he quickly stopped the fight by beating up Shovelhead and taking him to the police station. But he just arrested Shovelhead, and as for Jarhead, he let him go. Upon arriving at the police station, Jim became suspicious that the motorcycle gang was planning something sinister in the town. So, he told Deputy Matt to take Shovelhead to the bigger police station in the city while he stayed to protect the town. Jim's suspicions proved to be true. After Matt drove far enough away from the city, the rest of the motorcycle gang entered the town. It turns out, Shovelhead was just a lure to weaken the guard in the town. With minimal guarding, the gang members could destroy the electric substation in the city and make the whole city power out. At this moment, Jim was in Kathy's cafe, busy flirting with her. It was only when the power went out that Jim realized that something was wrong. Then Jim returned to the police station to check on what had happened. Meanwhile, Matt was still on his way to the neighboring town when he found someone lying on the side of the road. Matt got out of his car without any suspicion and approached the man, thinking he was hurt. But it turned out to be a trap, and the man was none other than a motorcycle gang member. Immediately after Matt was within reach, the man stood up and pointed his gun at him. Matt became the gang's hostage. Apparently, it wasn't the only trap the gang made. On the other side of the road, a police officer on patrol found a van speeding above the speed limit. And when the cop went after the van and asked the driver to get out, some of the gang members sneaked up on him from behind and shot him dead. Then one of them, Dirty Bob, wore that dead cop uniform and stole his car. In the meantime, Jim returned to his office, attempting to contact another police station. But the gang managed to disrupt the phone signal, making it impossible to call police stations in other cities and ask for help. Now the town of Horse Cave had been isolated from the outside world. At this moment, Jim heard motorcycle noise approaching the police station. He rushed out to check and found that the gang had entered the town. Seeing their arrival made Jim think hard about what their purpose should be. It was so deep in his mind that he didn't realize Jarhead from behind was pointing a gun at him. It was finally revealed that the gang wanted to rob a bank in that town. The head of the gang, Diablo, was a native of the town, so he knew the town's ins and outs. He even knew Jim well and understood what the chief of police could and could not do, making it easier for him to plan the robbery. To smooth the plan, he even put one of his followers as a teller in the bank. After the gang brought all the bank employees out, Diablo ordered the manager to help his men open the safe. She brought them to the front of the safe, opened it, and let them take all the money in it. With their success robbing the bank, Diablo sent some of his men to take the bank employees and the townspeople to a church where they would hold them. Only Jim wasn't asked to go to that church. He and the newly arrived Deputy Matt were ordered by Diablo to remain with him, because apparently, Diablo got something he wanted to tell Jim and Matt. Diablo and his gang did not just want to rob that bank. He knew that today a casino would deposit millions of dollars into that bank, and he was after the money too. So, he and his gang would await the armored truck delivering the money. Those 2 guards escorting the truck would not have known that the bank they were headed to was being robbed because Diablo had cut communication between the city and the outside world. But while they were waiting for the truck to come, someone suddenly shot at them with his rifle. It turns out it was one of the townspeople, an old man who was very good at shooting. From his hiding point, he killed the gang members one by one and forced the rest to take cover. And at the same time, Jim and Matt used that mess to escape the scene. Unfortunately, Jim and Matt did not notice that a woman was also near the scene. The terrified woman tried to escape from there, but unfortunately, she was caught by Diablo, who then took her hostage. He threatened to shoot her if the old man didn't show himself. Seeing who the hostage woman was, the old man obeyed Diablo's orders. He couldn't let Diablo kill that woman because she was his wife. So, he showed himself and begged Diablo to release his wife. But Diablo responded by shooting the poor old man dead. That woman was really useful to Diablo. Next, he used her to threaten Jim and Matt, who were in hiding. He swore he would kill her if Jim and Matt didn't surrender themselves to him. Panicked, Deputy Matt tried to buy time by sounding the alarm at the store where they were hiding. But his actions angered Diablo, who decided to shoot the woman dead. Realizing they couldn't fight the bad guys in person, Jim set a trap inside the store. Then he and Matt went out the back door while some gang members approached the building. And it turns out Jim made the bomb activated when the store door opened. After that, Jim and Matt decided to split up so they could more easily observe the movements of their enemies. Diablo and his gang let the two cops go for a while because they still had to wait for the armored truck. For that, they stayed inside the bank, planning to ambush the truck guards as soon as they got in. When the truck arrived, the driver could not help but be suspicious of the quiet atmosphere of the city. So, he asked his partner to check into the bank while he was waiting in the truck. Little did he know, Diablo and his men had been waiting in there. They immediately took the guard and brought him back to the truck. They told the driver to open the back door of the truck. But in the end, Diablo shoots the guard because the driver refused to do what he said. Diablo and his gang then blew up the truck's back door using explosives. After getting the money from the truck, Diablo and his accomplices rushed to the church, where they held citizens and bank employees hostage. Then Diablo took Kathy outside the church, intending to use her to lure Jim and Matt. At this moment, Matt was near the church with his long barrel rifle. He had to aim for Diablo and his men and then pull the trigger to kill them. However, Jim forbade him from doing that. Matt wasn't good at shooting from a distance, and Jim knew it. He was afraid that the bullet would hit Kathy, who was near Diablo. So Matt was supposed to sit around watching Jim in action. But Matt refused to stand still and watch. So, he handed himself over to Diablo, hoping it could get Diablo to let Kathy go. Jim, however, still decided to shoot. He saw Matt turn himself in, but he kept shooting at one of the gang members. As a result, Diablo became angry. He orders some of his men to bring Kathy and Matt back into the church while he and the rest of his men would hunt down Jim. They did not know that Jim set traps at some point in the town, which was one he placed in a car, which exploded as soon as a guy opened the door. Meanwhile, inside the church, Kathy told Matt that there was a radio in one of the church rooms. Using that radio, she said, they'd be able to get reinforcements from police stations in other towns. Matt agreed to give it a try. So, when Diablo's men caught their guard, he quickly snuck away to the room in question. Fortunately, the radio worked, and Matt called for reinforcements. While Matt was calling for help, Kathy was still sitting at the front of the church, and she realized that one of Diablo's men was still off guard. Thus, Kathy decided to take the opportunity to attack her and snatch her gun. The attempt was successful. After killing Diablo's men, she asks all the prisoners to go to a safe place. On the other side of town, Jim was in a gunfight with Diablo and one of his men. After a while of gunfire, Jim finally managed to kill the henchman, but not Diablo. He managed to escape to his car, where he then met with the rest of his men. The henchman told Diablo that the police from the neighboring town would arrive soon, and then they had to leave immediately with the robbed money. As a result, Diablo decided to give up hunting Jim. What's important to him now is to escape before the police arrive. But just as he was about to leave, Jim showed up and shot the Diablo boys dead. Unfortunately, when Jim was about to hit Diablo, his bullets ran out, making Diablo flee with the money. When Diablo was about to escape, Kathy showed up with a horse and a rifle. She handed the horse and the gun to Jim so he could catch Diablo. With no time to waste, Jim chased after Diablo, who drives a stolen motorcycle. The pursuit lasted a few moments before Jim finally shot Diablo's motorbike, making it fall onto the paved road. At this moment, Diablo was helpless. His injured leg made him unable to run anymore, but Jim had decided not to spare him. Diablo had killed many people, and his only punishment was death. And thus, Jim shoots Diablo to death. At the film's end, peace seems to have returned to the city of Horse Cave. Jim returned to work as a cop, but now he has a girlfriend, Kathy. And the movie ends.